Give you my heart.
Yeah, it's your girl Jenna, downtown Germany, and I'm here with a special guest. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Minister Marcus Moore.
You want to tell everybody your story and how it all started?
Well, for me, it was about 2000. Y'all to prove what you can't prove. So I ended up filing for a speedy trial. In the process of me filing for the speedy trial, they give them 90 days to take me to trial or release me. So we ended up going to trial. And at first, I wasn't really worried if the victim was going to show up or not, but the victim did show up. So the victim testified, and he was in the courtroom. He was incriminating me that as me being the shooter, I'm the one who shot him in the face, and he was in fear for his life. So the jury, I felt like they felt his sympathy. So I was forced to take the stand. I took the stand, and to be honest, I made up a story.
Okay. How you felt when? Did you know that you had to take the stand, or you found out that day that you had to take the stand?
No, it was actually my choice.
Oh.
It was all the way up until the last 3 days of trial. And the public defender came to me, he was like, look, if you wanted to, would you like to take the stand? And I knew I had already wrote me a little story. I said, yeah, I would be willing to take the stand.
Oh,
so
wow.
I basically made up a story, and it was to make it look like the drug deal went bad.
Okay.
The jury, they bought it. But they didn't find me guilty of the first 3 counts, but they found me guilty of the last count. And the last count was a PBL, punishable by life. So if they would have found me guilty of the other 3, it would have been probably 10 or 20, maybe 25 years. But because it was the PBL, I realized now they can max me out. Okay, so I come back on 2007, February 14th, Valentine's Day, for my sentencing. Of course, the whole time, I got to be honest, I was on my face. I was praying, Lord, please deliver me from this. I don't want to go to prison. I want to go home.
Were you a faith, was heavy in faith before this, or you just found like asking God at that moment?
I was growing.
Okay.
I was growing because I had a previous encounter with being incarcerated in 2003, and I ended up coming home. So that's when I kind of started getting to know God. But then I really sat down this time because of what I was facing.
Okay.
Because totally I was facing 3 life sentences and 50 years if they'd have found me guilty on all counts. So it was big to me. So in the process of all that, I was actually doing Bible studies, trying to get other people encouraged, and I watched God work with other people lives. People was being released, the charges being dropped. I'm like, okay, I know it's gonna work out for me. Okay. I went to sentencing. They sentenced me to 30 years. The state attorney, he said, Your Honor, he falls under the PRR, Prison Release Riffing Act, because I wasn't even home a whole year from being in prison to catching a new charge. So some type of stipulation where now they can ask for the max. So they asked for the max. So they sentenced me to life. In the process, I turned and looked at my mom. That's really my only concern. Judge, can I give my mom a hug? The bells were like, nah, we can't do it.
Oh,
so I had to walk away. That was one of the hardest things I had to face.
Your mom was there, anybody else was there, like a lot of family, or was it just your mom?
It was my mom and my wife's mom.
Okay.
But she was just my lady at the time, so her mom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was.
Was it emotional in there? Was your mom crying? Or
My mom
just
was.
shocked?
She was the louder one in the courtroom. It was devastating. Our oldest son was pretty much gone in her eyes because the judge made it clear. He said, I sentence you to the term of life in the Department of Corrections. You would never walk the streets free again. I didn't get mad. I didn't want to throw no chairs at the judge. None of that was in my spirit. It was just like, I don't believe this. Like I couldn't.
You were shocked.
I was shocked, but I didn't want to accept it as this is it for me. Like, nah, this ain't it. So I go back to the holding cell. I'm laughing and talking. The people around me, they're like, like you just got sentenced to 5 to 10 years, man. I'm like, man, I'm not worried about that. So I ended up going to prison. In prison, I went to 3 places. I went to the child hall, the chapel, and the law library because I wanted to understand my case. That's when I went to the chapel, to the law library. I stayed in the chapel because I'm seeking God for this miracle. Because man said I won't never walk the streets free again, but man don't have the time to say so. So in the child hall, I gotta eat. So I had to eat. I couldn't get in there and get sick.
Yeah.
So I thank God though in the process of it, I did get visitation from my mom and my lady and my son. They came to visit me. They drove 6 hours all the way from where we're at now to where I was, Crawfordville, Florida. We were Hitchcock. Somewhere I ain't never seen and never heard of before. But in the process of being incarcerated, one thing I did learn was to keep faith. Because I went and visited the law library and I talked to a gentleman asking about my case. And the funny thing was, he looked at me when he read my case and he looked up at me and said, "Why are you in prison?" Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean, why am I in prison? I mean, I'm in prison because they found me guilty at trial. He said, if they don't if they don't grant your appeal and overturn your sentence, he said, I'll do your appeal for free. And believe it or not, when you're in prison, an appeal costs the same thing it costs on the street. If it's $1,500 to file the paperwork, it's $1,500 in prison. However, you got sweetie goals, honey buns, chips, somebody donate money, something. But it's not an easy task. So for him to say that was God's way of letting me know, just stay faithful, stay on the plumb line, don't get tired. Now, can I say it was easy? I'll be lying. It was one of the toughest things I ever faced in my life. A lot of nights I cried myself to sleep because the weight of it, how can I explain it? The weight of it's like carrying a car on your back every time you get up. It's an invisible car because you feel like I'm stuck here. And over time, if you're not keeping a positive mindset, you'll fall into depression. You'll fall into suicidal thoughts. I ain't gonna say they didn't come, but for me, I had to make it in my mind. I had a set area on the wreck yard. I was gonna hit the fence, and I knew where I was gonna go. I didn't know how far I was gonna get, but I was not going to die in prison. I was determined. So it was. I remember one day, I never forget it. I prayed. I said, Lord, if I gotta die in prison, take me now. I don't want to die here. You know, some people we don't want to come to that realization that we have to get honest with God, because if you're not fully honest with God and committed with God, He can't move on your behalf. You limit His capability when you don't fully surrender yourself to Him. So I had to give it all. I had to give my fears, my doubts, everything to Him. Wow. So I get a letter from the appealing court. Okay. They arguing in my appeal. I don't deserve to be free. I've been a violent offender, a career criminal. Everything that they could think of or find about me, they're trying to bring it up. But the fact remains, what is the charge? Because the charge that they charged me was causing bodily injury during commission of a felony. Special verdict, they said I did not use, threaten to use, or possess a firearm during the commission of the felony. But the only injury was caused by a firearm because the victim was shot in the face. So how could I commit a crime with a weapon and be found guilty without a weapon? Okay. It don't make sense. Okay. But the appealing court is saying because what it was, one of the elements that they had was they had a hat with my DNA. So they could place me at the scene of the crime because they had the hat that matched my DNA. It was my hat, don't get me wrong, you know what I'm saying? I forgot it just in the process of everything going on. So by them placing me there, that's what gave them the 5 elements to go to trial. So that what made them look strong when we went to trial. And that was one reason the jury said, we can't, because it was 2 people. It was me and the Spanish gentleman, but I was the only one charged. Only one took the trial, only one convicted. Once they arrested me, they closed the case. They didn't look for no other suspects. Really? Yeah, I feel like I don't want to say I was targeted. I just say that it was a lesson, something for me to learn. Because it was a whole lot of other people involved. So all the people who was involved, their names never came up. You know, so I never talked to none of the detectives, and I didn't write no statements, because to me, loyalty is more important than anything. Okay. And that's loyalty to myself. Because I'm loyal to myself, I can be loyal to you. But if I'm not loyal to myself, I'm telling everybody. We're going to have the bus driver, the pilot, we're going to have everybody in here with us. You know what I'm saying? Oh, he drove the plane. We'll tell on everybody. But because of the loyalty that I had to myself, I wasn't willing to put nobody else locked up with me. Well, it was already hard enough for me. So I lived a right home, encouraged my family to stay strong. And the funny thing was, my granddad, he came to visit me, God rest his soul. And I told him, I said, Granddad, I'm coming home. And you know, he always was straightforward. He said, well, how you gonna do that?
Yeah.
He ain't got a release date. I say, I'm coming home. And what that was encouragement to me, because what I thought people had given up on me and walked away, everybody did it. Now the friends, some of the friends, I can't say all of the friends, but I'm gonna say I ain't get no letters, okay. I ain't get no pictures, okay. I ain't get no money. So I don't know if you gave up on me, but I don't see no signs of support. Like I'm getting from my mother and my lady, you know what I'm saying, and my mother-in-law, everybody who writing me and trying to keep me encouraged. In return, God has me encouraging them, even though the situation that I'm in is hopeless and impossible. So I say about 2 years in, after going back and forth, arguing with the state attorney on the appeal and if they're gonna grant my appeal, because this is the thing. If they grant your appeal, they can grant it 2 ways. They can grant it for a new trial, okay. Or they can grant it where they can make a move on the motion. If they move on the motion, they can decide we're gonna reverse your conviction, dismiss your charges, and release you, or we're gonna dismiss this charge, but take you back to trial on this charge. So when they rule, this is how they rule. I say about going on being locked for 3 years, and I got a letter, April of 2008. I was working at the chapel, and I had a legal mail call out. So it's just like going to your mailbox. So I go to the legal mail call out. So I open the letter. Letter say, the 9th District Court of Appeals has reversed your conviction and overturns your sentence. And I'm like, I mean, I was in tears. Really? Cause I'm like, I ain't had to go to court. Like I ain't had to write no statements. I ain't had to do nothing. All I had to do was keep reading my Bible, praying and trusting God. Cause that's all I did. I was at the chapel so much they made me a chapel orderly. They said, listen, you be here so much, you might as well get a job. We're gonna give you a job training. That's how good God was. But what God was doing was getting me closer to the gate. It was just through the process of time. But he was showing me, because you're faithful, I'm going to reward you because you're faithful. But I still was going through it. I still was hurting. I still was upset. I still was angry at some people, because I felt like when I was out there, I looked out for you. I took care of whatever way I could. Yeah. But then now that I'm away, out of sight, out of mind. But then the funny thing is, once everything happened and I did finally get to the point of coming home, I got a spontaneous letter from this person, a spontaneous letter from that person. But the situation wasn't over yet. I had to wait 45 days for the state to rebut on the appeal. After 45 days, I'm coming out the chapel. They come get me, they put me in handcuffs. I'm thinking I did something. But I know I ain't did nothing because I don't do nothing. Yeah. So they take me to the assistant warden office. The assistant warden telling me to call my mom. I'm like, okay, what's going on? I remember, I'm not thinking about the letter right now. I'm just, because it's been so weird with everything that's going on. I don't know, I'm just taking baby steps with everything that happened. Listen, what's going on? Why I need to call my mom? Like, well, you no longer have a charge, so we can't hold you in prison. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, what about the life sentence? Because I mean, I'm asking questions. What do you mean? What about the life sentence? You finna just let me go? He said, no, we can't let you go. That's why I need you to call your mom and let your mom know what the next step is. So I call my mom, and he gets on the phone. He explains to her that the lower court, okay, the appeals court reversed my conviction, overturned my sentence. The lower court filed a warrant, so now they can't release me from prison. I got to go back to the state, the county jail that found me guilty. So I'm like, oh man, I'm excited, but I'm not. Okay. So in prison, they have to wait on the transport because the county jail don't come pick you up from prison. Prison takes you wherever you got to go. That's how they do it. So I was waiting on the 24-hour transport. It put me in AC confinement. I say probably about 18 days in. The assistant warden, he just doing his round. He started to look. He said, "What you still doing here?" I look around. I'm in the room. Where am I going? Yeah. He said, "No, you were supposed to been gone." I'm like, well, I've been in here. This is the only place I've been. I ain't went nowhere, as you can see. So he said, look, this is what I'm gonna do. He said, right now, I gotta go home, got my wife and my kids, I'm sorry. He said, but if I get ready to leave tomorrow and you're still here, me and 2 officers will transport you to Osceola County.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay. But the whole time I've been in the 19 days, wasn't a 24-hour transport now. You know what I'm saying? 24 hours. 19 days. That's a long 24 hours, ain't it? But in the process, I just stayed on my face, stayed in prayer, just kept on trusting God, saying, Lord, I don't know what's going on. It just, to me, it was so weird. It was scary because I felt like I was being toyed with. Like the system was playing with me. Like they were making me think I was going to go home and then turn around and send me back to prison.
Yeah.
So, okay, the next morning, 9 o'clock, they tell me to pack my stuff. One fell swoop. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, I'm ready.
Whatever came fit, whatever.
Listen, one fell swoop, everything.
Yeah.
So I get on the transport. I get to the county jail. They put me in the county jail. If you're high security, they put you in red and white. Put you in 23-hour lockdown. So they put me in red and white. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Why y'all put me in red and white? They're like, because you have a life sentence. You're high security. I'm like, no, I ain't got no life sentence. Yeah. I'm like, I said, I can go and say, I couldn't tell my property. I'm like, you didn't get my property. Let me show you the letter now. They're like, look, in our system, you have a life sentence. So we got to put you in high security. So, okay, I'm thinking they done transported me. I'm finna go to court soon.
Yeah.
I sat 60 days in 23-hour lockdown for a court date. I can't explain why I don't understand it. So, but in the process of this time, my roommate is a young man facing a murder charge. And it's like, God allowed me to be this young man roommate, because all he see me do, like, bro, all you do is read your Bible and pray. He said, you don't get tired of that? I'm like, I said, if you knew what I've been through, you'll never get tired of it. He like, what you mean? I'm like, bro, I'm giving back a life sentence. He like, man, I think I'm facing life. I'm like, well, how you facing life? And then he told me his charge. I said, well, listen, let's start praying. And I gave him some Bible scripture to read. And over time of the 60 days, you know, I noticed him started changing and growing. I didn't get to see the outcome, but later on I heard that his charges was dropped. Nobody but God. Nobody but God. All of a sudden, all the witnesses recanted their statement. Nobody showed up to court. Nobody but God. But it was in that time of me growing that God was delivering other people. So, okay, I finally go to court. I go to court. The judge, he like, I'm going to ROR you, release you on your own recognizance. You know, we don't have anything to hold you on. He goes to oh, Your Honor, you know, he's a violent offender. He has a history. He's a career criminal. The judge said, okay, what you want me to hold him on? He said because he didn't say the appellate court. He said the higher court. Like I said, to me, he was acknowledging of God without saying it. The higher court reversed his conviction, overturned his sentence. He don't have no charges. So what do you want me to hold him on? He said, well, I'm filing the habeas corpus, which is a warrant of attempt to murder. I'm like, man, I'm watching these people fight over my life. The judge is arguing with the state attorney over my life. But see, God already got the elbows on. They can't touch it. So the judge say, I'm not going to accept that right now. This man will be released. For my order, I'm releasing him. Okay, so I'm like, yes, finally, I get daylight. I get back to the county jail. I got a hold. I got a warrant from Orange County. I've been in prison. I've been in prison for 3 years. You telling me you just not seen this warrant? You could have served this warrant any time before. So finally, the public defender, the public defender I had at the time, she said, don't worry about nothing. She said, I guarantee you, by the time the sun come up in the morning, you will be released. She went line 8 o'clock that morning, 8:30 to be exact. They told me to pack it up. And I mean, I can't lie. I cried. When I finally got the property, and I'm looking up, I got to put on the stuff they gave me from prison. So I'm like, man, I don't even want to wear these clothes. And there was another gentleman, he was getting released too. He was like, man, you ain't got nothing else to wear, bro. You better wear it out of here. He said, as soon as you get out there, you can take it out. But listen, you got to leave out of here with clothes on. I was like, no, I'm leaving out of here with clothes. But I'm saying I don't want to walk away with prison release clothes. You know what I'm saying? To get khakis and a blue shirt. But my release was at hand, but it wasn't over yet. I still had another court. They had to go to court of September 15, 2008. because remember the state attorney was still trying to file charges. He was still trying to lock me back up after everything that happened. So just stay out, like I said, not getting in trouble because I ain't doing nothing. Just stay home and finally go back to court. When I get in the courtroom, I don't see the state attorney. I'm like, man, these people, they finna continue on me. You know, because it's crazy because sometimes when you're in a situation, you start thinking the worst before anything happens. So I'm like, man, they finna try to continue, or they finna bamboozle me. They just gave me 15 days of freedom, but they finna lock me back up. It didn't even happen. Well, I stood out there, it was a lady filling in for him. She apologized. She said, on behalf of the state of Florida and Osceola County, we apologize for everything you've been through. Now, I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm a celebrity or something, you know, because listen, the system ain't never apologized. I mean, then the judge says, I release you from the Department of Corrections, from Osceola County Jail, forever. You see, because remember, oh, and that's another thing to tell you. The same judge sentenced me. The same judge had to release me. So the judge that sentenced, they ain't know, but God, I don't know, because remember, he told me you'll never walk streets free again. God has the final say so.
Same judge.
The same judge. And he didn't apologize, but he released me forever. He basically saying, I ain't finna apologize to you like the state attorney did. But the lady, she did, even afterwards, she came up to me, she said, I don't want you to feel no type of way against the judicial system. She said, there were some errors in your case, and they should have been looked at accordingly, but because they weren't, you have endured some things. She said, but you made it out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I made it out, but the experience that it brought me to can never be relived by anybody else. To be sentenced to life, believe you're gonna die in prison, and then walk out a free man. All the restitution vanquished, dismissed all my charges, reversed my conviction, overturned my sentence, and told me have a nice day. Now, if that ain't God, you tell me what is.
I love it. I love that story. I mean, what would you want to tell somebody that's going through the same thing? Because I know you see the news, you know, a lot of murders lately, I'm talking about 18-year-old boys getting life, and like you was telling me earlier before we recorded, life plus 30, whatever that's supposed to mean. Like, what would you want to say if you had a chance to say anything to them?
I would tell them, stay strong.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to pick up your Bible and get to know God for yourself, because that's what worked for me. It wasn't no public defender. I ain't had no money for no lawyer. People paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for lawyers for murder charges and drug trafficking and all that, and still getting 25 years in life. I'm free and I ain't even pay $1. I spent time with my father in his word, and I trusted him at his word, and he kept his promises. So I would tell them to hold on. Don't give in. Don't be a leader and not a follower. Because one thing about me, I didn't hang with nobody, but everybody wanted to hang with me. I didn't get involved in none of the gangs and none of the prisons. That was pointless to me. I want to go home. I'm not trying to build. I was out there in the streets trying to build up a reputation that ended me here. Why would I come into prison and try to keep up a reputation? That reputation went when they told me it has no place in me. It wouldn't. How could I say? It wouldn't sit with me. You know, somebody tell you something, you're like, I don't know about that. It just wouldn't resonate with my spirit when they said life. So I was fighting from day one. Before they even said life, I was fighting to get out, and didn't realize what it was going to take. To get out was to keep faith. But you still had to go through something. From one step to another step to another step, even from one door open, another door closed, another door open, another door closed. But when that door finally opened, I walked out. My mother was standing there, my lady was standing there, my son was standing there. I missed some things. I didn't get to see my son born. I didn't get to hold him until he was 1 year old. I was already sentenced to life. But it didn't stop me from coming home and still being a father, still being a husband. Now I'm a minister. My ordination is coming up in a couple months. It just, thank you, I appreciate it. It just, you gotta keep going. I can't tell you that sometimes old thoughts gonna pop up and I'm like, man, you know, I can go back and do this and that, but it won't be worth it. Because to lose everything twice in a life, it's pointless. I've already lost everything. Why would I go back to lose everything again? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expect a different result. And I ain't going back.
I want to thank you for showing, telling us your story, and I know that was powerful and it's gonna touch a lot of people. So
I hope so. It's real, cause God is real.
appreciate you. I really do.
Thank you.
And I
for
can
having
tell
me.
God was moving, and your mom is amazing too.
Thank
So
you. Yes, she is.
yes, she
So
is.
laugh with her this morning. She's something up, but yeah, she's a blessing too. She never gave up. No matter how hard it was, she always been by my side. Right or wrong, that's my son, and I love him. She'll tell you quick.
It's a great mom.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for watching.
I gave you my heart.